Your older brother, Yoni. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes.
Yoni.
Yeah.
In 1976, he leads the Operation Entebbe, which an astonishing operation, which Israelis leave Israel, fly to Uganda, and free more than 200 hostages from a plane that terrorists had hijacked. One soldier dies in the operation, and it is your older brother. This is from a letter Yoni wrote to your other sibling, your younger brother, Ido, on Ido's 12th birthday, as quoted in my story. Just as father offers me advice, writes your brother, your big brother, let me suggest something to you, he writes to your little brother. Learning is important above all else. The desire to study and acquire knowledge, to solve problems, to read and understand, these are the things that make a man great. Okay, the first thing to be said about this is a remarkable letter for a big brother to write to his baby brother on his 12th birthday. But the other thing that strikes me is read, acquire knowledge, but solve problems. That Netanyahus you were not raised to be a dreamer. Your father, your older brother were interested in practical knowledge, in solving problems. Have I got that right?
Yes, but you actually should conflate that with the idea of learning, because before I became prime minister, I asked my father, who was truly a great historian, and totally independent.
And lived to the age of 102, is that
102, and he was pretty, I would say that at the age of 100, he gave a speech which is amazing, 3 minutes, after being feted by, all these intellectuals and all these well-wishers, and he came up to the stage at 100, no help, just came in. And he said, well, it's all very kind of you, all the kind things you said, but I'll limit, time is precious, so I'll limit my remarks. We have to stop Iran. That's how we safeguard Jewish history. Thank you very much. I'm more bored. So he was very alert and acute intellectually until the end of his days. But I asked him, before I became prime minister, I asked, he said, first of all, you sure you can do this? That is, get elected? I said, yeah, I think I can be. And he said, well, maybe so, but once you get in, the left will do everything to get you out. I said, well, we'll see. By the way, he was right on that.
He was right about that, yeah.
So, but then I asked him a question. I said, Father, Abba, what do you think is the most important quality that the Prime Minister of Israel should have? And he shot back and he said, what do you think? And I said, well, I think you have to have a vision of where you want to lead the country. You have to have the resolve to pursue that vision, but also the flexibility to navigate around the shoals and turbulence of political life.
Pretty good answer.
Yeah. And he said, well, it wasn't good for him. He said that's something anybody who leads any organization needs, whether you're a dean of a university or a head of a company or even a military leader. It's the same answer. So I said, all right, so what do you think is the answer, Father? And he thought for a minute and he said one word that absolutely floored me. He said, education. You need a very broad and deep education. Otherwise, you'll be at the mercy of your clerks. That's what he said. And you have to be able to not to be at the mercy of your clerks, to take expert opinion, but ultimately to chart your course. You need a broad and deep education.
Okay. So let's take...
And by the way,
Yep.
just to add to that,
Please.
so many years later, I'm visited by someone you're familiar with, Dan Rather, the journalist. He comes with his grandson to visit me a few years ago, and his grandson is in Dartmouth, which I think you went to, right?
I went to Dartmouth, that's
okay,
right.
so he's going to Dartmouth, and grandson is 18 years old, and he's thinking apparently of entering one-day politics, and he asks me now the question I asked my father. He asked me, so I described this in the book, he asked me, so what is the most important thing that I have to study in order to prepare myself to be in political life, to be a leader? And I said, well, actually, there are 3 things you should study. You should study everything. History, not history, rather, economics, military matters, whatever, all these other things, technology. But I said, you have to study 3 things: history, history, and history. And so in terms of learning, what Yoni was talking about, my father broadened it into the larger understanding that you have to be broadly and deeply educated in order to be able to decide what is truly important and what is not.